Hello, my fellow cinematic architects, and welcome to Remake This Movie Right. We are a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network. We can be found on iTunes, where reviews are appreciated, Stitcher Radio, or through our RSS feed into your podcast app of choice. If you have your own pitch by the end of this episode for the remake that we're talking about, just email it to remakethismovieright@gmail.com. That's remakethismovieright@gmail.com. Just for people that have never heard, Remake This Movie Right is a show where we take an original film that actually has an actual remake in the works. We determine exactly how Hollywood should remake it, and by the end of every episode, we will have that remake ready to roll for Hollywood execs and present it to you in movie trailer form. Stop being a goofball. We are live, so if you're listening to this at a later date, that's why it sounds so
weird.
Rambunctious.
Yeah.
Rambunctious. So we are here to tell Hollywood how to remake this movie right. I am your host, Aaron Peterson, and joining me today are my fellow hosts, Scotty Clark.
Hey, how you doing, Aaron?
Doing great. And Troy Heinrichs.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
Great. Now for this episode, are you guys ready? Are you excited?
I'm so excited.
The movie we're going to remake is the 2001 Angelina Jolie classic, Tomb Raider.
You forgot the air quotes.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
I'm excited because we actually get to talk about a video game on a podcast for once. I'm stoked.
And it fits a crowd here perfectly in the Blue Box Cafe, being kind of a geeky type of experience
Absolutely.
for this movie.
Yes.
I'm amongst my people.
You don't have any people, Scott.
We'll get you a bed in the back then for later.
Well, real quick, here's what we know about the remake that is actually getting made so far. MGM has partnered with Warner Brothers to reboot Tomb Raider. They've hired Evan Darty to write it. You'll recognize him from films like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Divergent, and Snow White and the Huntsman. So there's a good chance this movie breaks an Oscar when it finally comes out. Producer GK Films is working closely with Crystal Dynamics on the story, and they're going forward with a plot that reflects the recent reboot of the game, which I think is what a lot of people that's all they're familiar with for that franchise. But is that how they should remake it? So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, normally we start off with, do you think this movie should even be remade, or should it be in no-touch status, which means leave it alone, it's perfect. Scott?
You should absolutely remake this one. This is the furthest from no-touch status as it gets.
I mean, she looks fantastic.
That's about all this movie has going for it.
It has guns. It has lots of guns. Dual guns.
Guns.
Pew, pew, pew. Troy, what about you? Do you want to remake it?
I absolutely want to remake it because I just watched it this morning again in preparation for this, and I remembered how poor the first half hour was.
I disagree.
was like,
I think it's
just cut it to
cinematic
60
gold.
minutes, and it was a great movie.
It took her 45 minutes to get to a tomb.
Exactly.
You're really hung up on that. In the games, sometimes she doesn't always start at a tune.
Then they should just call it Raider.
Yeah. In which case, then it would just be
Raider
another
of
Indiana
Places.
Jones movie, right?
Yeah.
Pointy brassiere is what they should call it, apparently. We normally decide if a movie should have nostalgic moments based on how good it is. So from a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most classic, we determine how many nostalgic moments does our remake need. We determined that this only needs one because the original was not very good, apparently. So the dual handguns has to be in our remake.
Yeah, that's a
Well, that's like a
necessity.
classic, though,
That's
from the video
that's
game,
throwback.
too.
So I guess let's get into it. How do we modernize Tomb Raider? I mean, what's your plot idea, Scott?
Well, the big thing for me is that I'm tired of Lara Croft just being the sexy star. Let's make it not being about how good she looks in short shorts.
So does she still wear the short shorts?
That's fine, but like this movie was all about let's make Angelina Jolie look as sexy as possible, and that
In 2001, I don't think it was very hard.
what?
In 2001, that wasn't
Well,
very hard.
yeah. I get that
Now
point.
it'd be a little more of a struggle.
I wanted to focus more on like an Indiana Jones type story where she's looking for something and not just being like her looking good and these awesome action scenes.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think the first one, they were looking for something. It just wasn't something worth looking for.
Yeah, and I mean you could argue too that with the games it has that supernatural aspect of it, which
They do.
I know it's always present there, but I want it to be more believable. I mean, you look at Indiana.
Really? You think this has a shot at being believable?
If it's remade right, yeah.
Well, how would you do it?
Well, I've actually got a whole plot. Do you want to hear my whole plot line?
Yes, that's
All right.
kind of what
Yes.
we're doing this podcast,
So-
Scott, where we remake a movie.
So
Go
my
ahead.
favorite aspect of one of my favorite movies of all time is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the reason that worked for me is because the Ark of the Covenant is something that everybody knows and loves, or is actually something that probably existed somewhere. Do they have? Is it?
I'm not getting in the religious debate.
Well,
I don't know.
right, but it's something that's well
Probably,
known.
sure.
So if you're gonna make this movie right, I want it centered around something like that is well known. It's historically accurate. So here's my plot. Here's my basic plot. The movie starts out. We're not doing an origin story. Getting away with the origin story about who she is and how she became what she is. She's already a well-established archaeologist, but she is more of an adventurous kind. She goes out and she does all this crazy stuff.
Okay.
So the movie starts out with her. She's hired by a museum to go find some artifact, Indiana Jones style, right? It's a big action set piece. Something goes wrong. She screws it up. And the museum says, okay, you're done working in the field. And I say that in quotes. And now you're going to you're going to work in the museum and preserving all these artifacts. And one of the artifacts that she's working on is the Rosetta Stone. So she has to like dust it every day.
Now,
and all
tell
this
people
stuff.
what the Rosetta Stone is. It's not that thing that translates languages for you?
Well, it did back in the day. It was like some French guy found this rock in the sand that had 3 different languages on it, and they used it to
Be Mormon.
to what?
To become a Mormon?
To become
oh, wait, that's
Mormon?
something else. Sorry.
No,
Got
no,
that
no.
messed up.
No, they used this. It was basically a huge translation piece, but it's only part of the entire Rosetta Stone. There's actually a bunch of pieces, and this is the only one that's ever been found. So in my remake of this story, she basically is obsessed with finding the rest of these pieces because she sees something on the original Rosetta Stone piece that gives a clue to something bigger and grander, whatever. But it's some real archaeological thing that hasn't been found yet. So her mission now is to go find the rest of the pieces so that she can use everything together to find whatever new thing that it's revealing.
What's the new thing?
What's that?
What's the new thing going to be?
Well, that might be where it comes in. Where I was thinking about taking it was because I thought Raiders was too sacred to touch and bring into it. So I really like the Illuminati
I
aspect.
like the
So
way you think right there. Yeah.
I was thinking more National Treasure. And so it's
I was too.
combo of the two things where
So
the
Nick
Rosetta
Cage
Stone
shows
is
up.
actually part of some secret society, whether it be Mayans or something, and then they would have to actually follow continent to continent to go through in order to piece all the pieces together to find all of the stones,
Sure.
which then would lead to some catastrophic event.
I'm glad you mentioned National Treasure because I wrote that down as well
I'm
too
not.
because that movie gets a lot of flack.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
I enjoyed it, and I love movies that do that puzzle aspect where they have to figure something out with these materials. And from what I've even played of the Tomb Raider games, my favorite parts of those games are the puzzles, and she has to jump from this to here and switch this and figure out what these symbols mean. And I want more of that in my Tomb Raider. I want that to be what it's about. So in my story, she is now working in the museum, and she can't get the funding and sponsorship from the museum, so she goes out rogue on her own to go find this stuff. Eventually does everything that she can and eventually wins back the support and trust of the museum, and that leads into the next movie.
So when she goes rogue, then does she have like a network of people she can reach out to? Because I thought that was one of the nice things of the comic relief of the current movie is that she had like the butler who then could basically suit up and become a huge bodyguard with guns and a bulletproof vest of his own, and then the nerdy sidekick. So does she like have to go find these people that maybe she went to school with back in the day or used to work at the museum and kind of bring them up out of hiding as well?
I didn't think about that. I was kind of going to try to bring in the father aspect of it back in because, John Boyd played her father in this film, who's actually her real father.
Yeah.
And bringing that back into the fold somehow. Maybe he's super rich and then she happens to inherit something from him that she didn't realize she had. I don't know. Some kind of funding to be able to do it and go back.
See, I don't want that angle at all.
You don't like the father angle
I don't
at all?
want a love story, and I don't want a father angle. It just feels like, to me, that's a Hollywood thing where, well, we got to have a man involved because it's a lady. We can't have a lead woman without all the man next to her somehow being the strength, and I just don't want that at all.
Yeah, I
want
thought
no one there.
was it West, right? West is the kind of love story part of the original movie.
Yeah,
like
it just-
I didn't need that. It just was bad.
No, it's just like we have a strong character, but they always have to throw in the, well, come on, you need somebody to hold you up because, you get hurt sometimes. And
I wasn't
don't like
thinking
it.
that aspect. I'm just she's got to come with money somehow. It's not like
She inherited it. We're done. There you go.
well, that's fine.
Some people are just rich, Scott. They don't have to go through a
Yeah.
whole bunch of daddy issues to get it. Okay, so
Well, if there's a bunch of people rich and they can just start, donating to Ben here or give it to us.
so what was yours, Troy? Did you have?
Well, I mean, going with the national treasure concept, I really like the fact of secret societies, and we talk about what those societies are, but we focus a lot of those stories based on the American tradition, with the Masons or the Illuminati or what have you. I'd like to see, and I don't know if I want to go necessarily Catholic Church related, where there's a lot of history and mystery around that, and especially with the Germans in World War II.
Right.
And I also don't want to really go ancient civilization, like Mayans and Inca and that sort of thing, but maybe something in between. Something that's just a secret society that is on a global scale to make the movie bigger than what it was. Because I felt like going to find the tombs in this mysterious lost city that looked like Sephiroth's comet from Final Fantasy VII, it's like, why do we need to have this in the middle of nowhere? Can't these tombs just be somewhere like the backyard in Elgin could be a tomb, and you just never knew about it because you didn't have the right clues?
Nice video game name drop, by the way. I usually get yelled at for that kind of thing on the show.
Oh my God, this is like a geek fest.
They're remaking it. It's going to be awesome. We'll have to do
think-
Final Fantasy VII on a remake show.
I think if you go back to, going back to the games that it's actually based on, Tomb Raider Legend had an Excalibur plotline that I thought was really interesting, where it involved, King Arthur's sword was Excalibur, and basically the sword was broken into pieces by Arthur's knights, Lancelot, Percival, Galahad, Bors, and Belvedere, I think, are the names that were involved. And they scattered the pieces around the globe, and basically she had to raid tombs to get those pieces. And I like that. I kind of thought that was an interesting twist, and maybe that could be your ultimate.
So maybe it's
goal.
a ruby stone or a ruby sword that the language pieces are all like instead of languages being on the stone, it's the clues to each piece of the sword as you then get to constructing the final thing, and then you get the story of the Knights of the Round Table or something as the Illuminati piece.
That's cool. That's something that people are familiar with.
It's a direct tie into the game, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
Now, how much of a, because we were talking before the show, and Scott really is only familiar with the recent reboot. And if you really, and I know the game series doesn't matter in movies, but to making this movie, it's going to matter to gamers. So, do you go back? Do you pull a lot from the previous games where they were a lot more supernatural and they were a lot more of that, as opposed to just straightforward tomb raiding, which is really what happened in the reboot?
That's what I would prefer, is a straightforward tomb raiding, because I think that if you follow the supernatural aspect in a game, I could see that working a little bit better, but in the movie, you're going to fall into
but Indiana Jones had that in every Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but
And that worked.
But that's not supernatural in the sense that it's science fiction.
There was
right?
a giant
It's
crate
true
that
supernatural.
melted face. That was pretty supernatural. It was like the wrath of God.
But it's real supernatural, not science fiction
I
supernatural.
suppose that depends on your opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people.
But look at the reaction people had with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The
Right.
ending of that is where people okay, you ruined my childhood. That's where people say that.
Because you want aliens instead of
That's
supernatural.
true. My childhood was ruined. Yeah.
So I think I would rather see this have no supernatural aspect at all. That's me personally. Again, I didn't play the older games like you did. They touched on the supernatural aspect in the 2011 game, but it felt so awkward to me when it was there. It felt out of place.
I really think it'll be a big part going forward. I think it's always going to be a part of that. I don't think you can leave it out, because I think you would have diehard fans that would be very upset.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it another angle then. So if you want to think about tombs or dungeon hunting or whatever, and we come back to the fact that we had this triangle in the first movie, and it was in two pieces, but there was a third piece that you needed to actually use in order to activate it, and then whoever touched it got the wish that they want. It sounded like a straight play out of Zelda.
Sounds like you're talking about that Triforce.
Exactly. So what if we went some way?
Let's not get too game heavy here.
Yeah, but if we're trying to play it up to the gamers, they would recognize Zelda as a recognizable franchise. Combine those two franchises together, and maybe part of the supernaturalness of it could be like how in Zelda you go between the light world and the dark world, and maybe when you get certain pieces, you have to traverse in between our reality and another reality, and those two realities have to combine in order to really make Excalibur whole again.
Well, two things. I think you're going to confuse a lot of people with that aren't gamers.
Sure.
They want to appeal to gamers and non-gamers, but also Nintendo is never going to let that fly.
I can tell you
for sure.
they mostly want to get people that aren't gamers, but they want the support of the people that love the game.
Sure.
there's
So we'll
a
just call it
fine line you gotta
Aldiz
walk.
instead of Zelda.
What's that?
We'll call it Aldiz instead of Zelda.
I don't.
That's Zelda backwards.
I don't understand that joke. So. Yeah, nobody will get that. Nobody will get that. Okay, so So that's what we're gonna go with Rosetta Stone leading to the pieces broken up to King Excalibur's or to King Arthur's sword.
Sure, I like it.
Well, not a stone, right? We said it's going to be like the first shard of the sword.
Well, yeah, my idea was to do the Rosetta Stone to find more pieces of the Rosetta Stone, but you guys are saying that's going to be the one Rosetta Stone is going to be lead to the rest of the.
Or maybe the original Rosetta Stone is like the jewel that's inside the hilt of the
There you
sword
go.
when they put it together.
There, I like
Well,
that.
Rosetta Stone's pretty big, man.
It's
You
a
can
big
change
sword.
it.
It's Excalibur,
Hey,
man. It's a huge
myth.
sword.
I'm pretty sure you can change a myth to whatever you want.
He's got this. He's got the Buster Sword.
Exactly.
All right.
Or it's the whole hilt. The whole hilt is a ruby.
All
I
right.
still don't know what you guys are talking about right now. What are you talking? Is that another game thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop it. Okay. Now, casting Lara Croft, that's a big one. A lot of people are debating, who it should be, and of course the same names always come up. So who would be your number one pick to pay? And that's really the only one we're gonna recast for this one, just because it's the most important character. So who is your Lara Croft?
I'll let
Troy?
Scotty go first because he's the big gamer, so I don't want to ruin his childhood with my pick.
No, you won't, because like Aaron said, Tomb Raider is a series I did not get into a whole lot. I've never played through. The only one I've ever played through is the recent one. So
We've established that. Let's
Right.
go back to movies.
Well, okay.
I don't want to hear about your childhood. Nobody wants to hear about that.
My mom hates me. My pick was Adrienne Palicki. Does that name ring a bell for you?
Ooh, yes,
Yeah,
the Wonder
yeah.
Woman. It was
Wonder
Friday
Woman.
Night Lights.
Yep, she was also in G.I. Joe Retaliation, John Wick, and she was in Red Dawn as well. So she was my pick. I think. Here, I got a picture to our
You brought
listeners.
pictures for the podcast. That's nice.
Okay, so I like that. I like
nice
that pick.
picture. It is a
The
nice
problem
picture.
is that pick is going to play into the sexy concept. And if you said you wanted to unsexy it, I don't know if she would be the right person.
I don't want it unsexy. I don't want her to be ugly.
He's saying he didn't want sex appeal to be the number one factor.
Yeah, I
he
didn't
wants
want
her
that
to
to
have be more of a character.
But Adrian's kind of that character, though, in a lot of what she does in all of her works, for the most part.
Well, she is an actor. She can.
Yeah.
Well, it's debatable. I mean, if you've seen her work, it's debatable.
All right, ruin my childhood. Who's your pick?
Well, I said that I've been really anxious to get back to the good female action hero kind of person. And, of course, I'm a big Alias fan. So I said, even though she might be a little bit on the older side, I would like to see an ass-kicking Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer Garner?
In
That's
this role.
a lot bit on the older side. That's Lara Croft the later years.
Yeah, but it could be what it is. It's like she's passing off it into her children or something, and she's like got a family or whatever, and then she has to like dig this up, and maybe that's how we get the sequels to go forward.
Well, like I said, I didn't want an origin story, so it's not like she's got to be young Lara Croft.
No. You ready for mine?
Sure.
Haley Atwell.
Haley Atwell.
Haley Atwell from Agent Carter. Yep.
Man, all three of those are good.
Yeah.
Nah. Jennifer Garner, not so good.
Let's put it out to the crowd here at the Blue Box.
Hey, listen up, guys. Okay, stop eating your food. Who should be Tomb Raider of these three? You ready? Haley Atwell. Who's the other ones?
Adrian Palicki.
Adrian Palicki.
Right there.
Or
This guy right here got really excited. I think I just got a
no,
vote for
no
him
fair.
right there.
He's got pictures. That's not cool.
Or
Or
Je-
Jennifer Garner.
or Jennifer Garner
old
from
Jennifer
Alias.
Garner.
Second.
Agent Carter should be Agent Carter. She should be everybody is really what I think, but whatever. I guess Adrian Palicki wins. I don't understand you people.
Cut.
Oh.
I'm boycotting. So
No.
we have to explain the cut for the audience here.
If you mean for Jennifer Garner,
No,
okay.
I'm cutting for Haley Atwell.
No, I think we should remove the cut.
Oh man.
Just because the audience picked that one. That's not
Okay.
us. You can cut each other.
Do I get my cut back then?
Yeah, you can have your cut back.
Okay.
We have a thing
You
in our show
preemptively
where you
cut.
can cut somebody else's idea. If you're not happy with it, you can change it. But since this is an audience participation, I don't want to make them hate the show already.
Okay.
Troy, jeez.
I'm fine.
No
I
premature
was just looking out for you.
capitulation.
Yeah, I'm trying
No,
to be.
it's all right.
I'm trying to be your friend.
Hey, if that's what they want, that's what they want.
Okay.
They're the ones that are going to pay for the movie.
You know, and
I
I'm
hope you're happy, guys.
And I'm okay. And
I
I'm
hope
okay
you're
with
happy.
that. We'll be
I
quite
think you
honest, I'm
picked her
good.
just because she's half naked, right? Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened.
You bet.
What's wrong?
Oh, we're good.
Okay. All right, so let's go to director. Who's going to direct our movie?
I went
Scott?
first last time.
Troy?
Oh man.
Adrian Palicki should direct it too?
Quentin
Yeah.
Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino, Tomb Raider.
It's gotta be PG-13. There's no way Quentin Tarantino can make a PG-13
Everyone's
movie.
going to die and...
He could steal it back. I'll second Tarantino.
I would watch that. I would watch
I would
that.
totally
Of
watch
course
that.
you would. You would watch a Care Bears movie where directed by Quentin Tarantino.
That would be the best Care Bear movie ever made.
Are you going with that, or you have somebody else, Aaron?
I don't know. I'm kind of liking Tarantino.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's 2. That means
The Russo brothers from Captain America. That'd be a good fit.
It's
That'd
not
be a
bad.
good fit. What do you think, Troy?
I'm sticking with Tarantino. I would watch that film. It was way better than what I watched this
Tarantino!
morning.
I mean, we kind of got to make a real movie though, and I don't know if anybody would actually. I think everybody would go out and
It
then
would
they
not be
cry
recognizable as a Tomb Raider movie by the time he got done with it.
because all the bullets would actually hit people.
Exactly. That would be awesome.
There'd be no dodging. I like
And
the
then
Russos.
where would you put Samuel L. Jackson in that movie? I mean, seriously.
Everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere you could.
I don't want no snakes
That's
in
a
this
mother effing
stupid
tomb. Jingo? Django Unchained? What?
I don't know that one. Do you know that one?
Which one?
The
Django.
new movie Django.
Django.
Oh, Django Unchained.
Hateful Eight is the new
Hateful
one.
Eight.
Yeah. Yeah, Taryn. A Civil War Tomb Raider? There's probably still tombs.
We said it wasn't going to be an origin story, though.
So what do you get? Let's take a vote here. Tarantino or the Russo brothers? 2 out of 3 wins. Scott?
I say Russo brothers over Tarantino. There's no way a Tarantino Tomb Raider movie is going to work.
Troy?
I say Tarantino.
Oh, boy. Like, how real do I want this movie? Tarantino. Yeah. I'm sure he could make a PG-13 Tomb Raider.
That was an audience recommendation, so no cut for you.
Sorry, buddy.
Man!
It sucks. If you got that crappy Pilecki lady, then...
I didn't even get to say my pick. Oh, well.
What was your pick?
I had Joe Carnahan.
That would be a good
Oh.
pick. But we ended up with Tarantino, so I don't know what to tell you.
Oh.
I got somebody on my side.
Okay, so we've got our Tomb Raider. We've got Andrew and Pilecki, and it's going to be directed by Tarantino.
Tarantino.
And Samuel L. Jackson will show up at some
This
point.
is going to be the first remake this movie episode where I completely think that this movie is
So
going to
everybody
fail.
make sure you tune back into the episode when we will actually have a trailer made. It will be movie trailer form. We'll actually have this movie made for you guys, and that'll be good.
In a world.
So if you think you have a better pitch than Tarantino, I don't think it's possible. But you can email that to remakethismovieRight@gmail.com. We might mention your pitch on the next show. Reviews on iTunes, thumbs up on Stitcher. I want to thank Wayne Henderson, who does our voiceovers and our movie trailers.